My name is Martin H. Monahan. I am a World War II United States Naval Reserve veteran. I volunteered in April 1943 for the V5 program, which is the Naval Aviation Training Program. My duties were as a naval aviation pilot for the Navy. I served as a pilot, and I resigned, discharged with an honorable discharge from the Navy as an ensign in the Navy. Okay. Yes. Okay. I trained in a program which was very excellent. It was very detailed scholastically, physically, and a learning to fly experience. Scholastically, they taught us everything there was to know about flying, such as communication, engine design, meteorology, bombing, all types of things, anything to do with the Air Force. And physically, we played all types of sports to attain a first degree level of physical fitness. And then we also, in the third part of the program, we learned to fly airplanes. I have a few stories which might interest you. One was the training to fly, especially learning our first solo flight. My training was in the Piper Cubs at the New Orleans airport at Lake Pontchartrain. And to learn to fly, I had a little bit of difficulty beginning with, because on the Piper Cub, as I started down the runway, the plane started to go a little bit to the left instead of going straight, so I tried to correct it, and I overcorrected and went to the right, and I overcorrected again and went to the left, so going down the runway I was going in a zigzag pattern, and that was not acceptable. So I figured, well, somehow I have to train myself to do that. So we went from Loyola University to the airport by bus, and I sat on the end of the bus, and anytime the bus started to go off a direct course, I practiced with my feet, with the pedals, trying to keep the thing straight, and it solved my problem. So then it came time to solo, and I went, and it was a very exhilarating flight, because the instructor got out of the plane and he said, get up there and do a good job. And I said, yes, sir. And I went and took off, circled the airport once, and came down and landed. And it was a thrill of my lifetime. I knew that I was going to love aviation after that. However, a friend of mine, I'll tell you briefly, also got the same instructions when he got it. And we sat, the airplane was a two-seater, one in front of the other. And he was sat in the back seat, and the instructor sat in the front seat. And he trimmed the airplane so the plane would be easy to handle from the back seat. So he said to the student, he says, get up there and do a good job. So the student misinterpreted it, and he climbed from the back seat to the front seat, and he flew around, and when he tried to land, he couldn't land because the plane wasn't trimmed properly. And he made a two-wheel landing instead of a three-point landing, and had a very great difficulty, and got washed out because he didn't follow instructions. We also had a problem on carrier landings. We had to train especially to be able to land on a carrier. And the way it happened was that when you're going to land on a carrier, you have to come in at a very slow speed, which meant that you had to come in with a nose-high attitude on the plane. And what happened was that in that attitude, your controls were different than ordinary flying. In that attitude, ordinarily the throttle would make you go faster. But when you're trying to land and the plane was in that position, if you increased the throttle, you gained altitude, and if you decreased it, you lost altitude. And if you lowered the nose, you went faster, and if you raised the nose, you went slower. But you had to be very careful, because the stall speed was only, you're 5 knots away, so if you went too slow, you'd stall and crash. If you went too fast, you wouldn't catch the barrier landings to catch you. So when I would come around the carrier to land, I couldn't see the carrier because the nose in front of my plane blocked out the carrier. And being a very nervous type of a person, I decided, well, I want to see what I'm going to land on, so I lowered the nose of the airport and I picked up a whole lot of speed. And as I picked up the speed, I realized that the deck was clear and I was clear for a good landing. So then I tried to slow it down and I kept going fast, and I missed the first 4 restraining wires and hit the 5th, which was very, very happy I did, because otherwise I would have crashed into the barrier. And that was a very, very exciting experience. But I had one other experience in that training landing, because we trained on land before we went aboard a carrier. And when I trained on land, we were 6 of us flying a circular pattern around the airport. And we were in Connecticut, and there were a lot of hills there. And so we had one landing strip we were practicing on, and we were on much higher than we were supposed to be because of the hills beside us and the trees. So in the last part of the turn, we had to turn 180 degrees to come around, and then we had to drop our altitude to a landing altitude, and then pull up the nose, and we had to work like mad to do it. And as I made this approach, the plane in front of me took a wave off, and the thrust from his engine came across my plane, and I lost the lift in my airplane and started to crash. And my plane went down, my nose went down, and the only way to save that was to get the flow of air across your wings smooth again. And so I lowered the nose of the plane straight down into the earth, and I put it on full propeller to get the airflow smooth across the wing again. And there I am going straight down into the earth at full throttle with a down stick. And I said, St. Peter, for the love of God, open those gates, because I'm on my way. I'm going to be there any minute, any second. And at the very last minute, I caught the airstream, straightened it out, landed on the thing and bounced up in the air. The next thing, I was facing the sky, and then I lowered it, and I finally saved the thing and got away safely. And to this day, I'm very thankful to God that that happened.